May 12, 2026, and the damage control team is already working overtime. Right now, as you watch this video, there are people on Hailey Bieber's payroll who have not slept in 72 hours. There are publicists drafting statements and then deleting them. There are social media managers monitoring 17 different comment sections simultaneously. There are lawyers on conference calls. There are conversations happening in rooms that will never be recorded about a problem that nobody inside that camp saw coming in the exact form it arrived. Because nobody expected Selena Gomez to go on Instagram Live and say what she said. Nobody expected her to be that calm. Nobody expected her to be that precise. And nobody in Hailey's team, nobody in the official PR apparatus that has been maintaining the constructed narrative of the Bieber marriage for the better part of 7 years. Nobody expected that the most devastating thing Selena Gomez could do in the aftermath of the Coachella moment that shook the internet would not be an attack. It would be 5 words delivered in a quiet voice to a camera with a small smile. 5 words that the internet immediately understood as something that a statement could not answer and a lawyer could not suppress. 5 words that have Hailey's team in the kind of damage control spiral that no amount of coordinated press placement can fix overnight. The world was not prepared for what Selena Gomez said on Instagram Live after Justin sang to Billie Eilish at Coachella. But we are going to walk you through every single piece of it, starting with the moment that started everything. Before we go any further, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon right now, because this story is developing by the hour. There are new pieces of information dropping constantly, and the people involved in this situation have teams whose entire job is to make sure content like this disappears from your feed before you can fully understand what you are watching. If you are subscribed with that bell notification on, you will be the first to know every time a new chapter in this story breaks. You will not miss a single development. This is exactly the kind of story where being first matters. So subscribe right now, and let's get back into it. We have to go back to Coachella Weekend 2, April 2026, because this is where the detonator was lit. Justin Bieber performed, and his Weekend 2 performance was something entirely different from the Weekend 1 set that had generated brutal reviews and genuinely confused the internet. The first performance, the one where he sat at a laptop and played YouTube videos of his own childhood, the one where critics described him as disconnected and absent and not fully present in his own body, that performance had generated its own wave of concern and commentary. But Weekend 2 was different, and the difference was immediately, viscerally visible to anyone watching. Justin Bieber came out with energy. Justin Bieber came out present. He performed with the kind of full-body investment that people who have loved him since the beginning had been waiting years to see again. He brought out SZA. He brought out Sexy Red. The crowd, which had been preparing itself for another confusing laptop set, was transformed into something that looked and sounded like the concerts people remembered from the height of his powers. And then, during the performance of One Less Lonely Girl, the song that had been part of his catalog since the very beginning, the song that teenage girls had screamed at arena shows for over a decade, something happened that nobody scripted and everybody saw. Hailey Bieber, who was watching from the side of the stage, reportedly pulled Billie Eilish forward, grabbed her by the arm, and essentially nudged her onto the stage while Justin was mid-performance. And what happened next became one of the most analyzed 16 seconds of video in celebrity culture in 2026. Billie Eilish, who is a lifelong Justin Bieber fan, documented genuine, going back to 2019 when she was photographed at Coachella after an Ariana Grande sat with tears running down her face, and wrote publicly, "Can't stop crying about having seen him," stepped onto that stage. And Justin turned to her, and Justin sang to her, and Billie Eilish, a woman who has openly processed her own emotions about him through her music for years, stood there with tears in her eyes while he performed the words of a song that is explicitly about being chosen, about being the one less lonely girl. The clip was everywhere, instantly. Before the set was even over, it was on every platform. People were watching it on loop. People were screenshotting the exact frame of Justin's face when he turned to look at her. People were analyzing the body language, the eye contact, the specific quality of his attention. And the internet came to a conclusion with remarkable speed and remarkable consensus. This did not look like two colleagues having a professional stage moment. This looked like something real, something that could not be managed or directed or performed. And then the question that every single comment section in the world was asking simultaneously was, what is Selena going to say? She said it on Instagram Live. And this is the part of the story that has Hailey's team in the condition they are currently in. Selena Gomez went live on Instagram in the days following the Coachella Weekend 2 performance. She was doing what she often does on Instagram Live, casual engagement with her audience, answering questions, being warm and present in the way that her fans have always described as one of her most genuine qualities. And her comment section, within seconds of the live starting, filled with one topic, one recurring, unstoppable, flooding wave of comments, all asking the same thing. They wanted to know if she had seen Justin's performance. They wanted to know specifically if she had seen the Billie Eilish moment. They wanted to know what she thought. Selena saw the comments. You could watch her see them. She stayed quiet for a moment. Not an uncomfortable silence. Not the silence of someone trying to figure out how to deflect or what her team would want her to say. The specific calm silence of someone who already knows exactly what they want to say and is simply deciding whether right now is the moment to say it. And then she said it. She looked at the camera, she smiled, and she said, "Yeah, I watched it. I watched the first show, and I also watched the second show. Watching the second show, it felt like Justin completely gave himself to his fans, just like he used to do in his old tours. It felt like I was seeing the old Justin again." Pause right there. The old Justin again. Those 5 words, that specific phrase. In the context of everything that has been happening in this story, in the context of the 7-year history of the alleged management arrangement, in the context of Scooter Braun's removal at the cost of $31.5 million, in the context of Justin's documented statements about feeling fully free after leaving his longtime manager, in the context of the visible public deterioration of his presence and energy throughout the years of the alleged arrangement. Those 5 words are not a simple compliment to an ex-boyfriend's stage performance. Those 5 words are a map. Those 5 words tell you exactly what Selena believes happened to Justin Bieber between 2018 and now. And those 5 words tell you exactly what she believes the Coachella Weekend 2 performance signified. The old Justin, not the recent Justin, not the managed Justin, not the Justin who sat at a laptop and played videos of his childhood while looking like a man who had lost his way home. The old Justin. The Justin who existed before the machine got him. The Justin who existed before the 72-hour crisis meeting of 2018, before the church conference in Miami, before the courthouse wedding, before the alleged post-nuptial agreement with its brand health clauses and performance metrics and 5-year milestone terms. When Selena Gomez says she saw the old Justin again at Coachella 2026, she is not talking about his singing. She is talking about his presence, his aliveness, his undeniable, visible, impossible to manufacture quality of being genuinely there, in his body on the stage, connected to something real in the way that only happens when a person is not performing a role that someone else assigned them. She is talking about the man she fell in love with when they were teenagers, the man she allegedly watched disappear, piece by piece, year by year, into an infrastructure of management and arrangement and constructed narrative. The man she allegedly knows was changed by the machine that was built around him in 2018, changed in ways that went far deeper than any press release or Instagram post could capture. And Hailey Bieber's team understood immediately and completely exactly what Selena's word meant. Because here is the thing about damage control in the modern celebrity information environment. A direct attack is manageable. If Selena Gomez had gone on Instagram Live and said the Billie Eilish moment was inappropriate, or I think Justin is unhappy in his marriage, or any of the obvious, direct, attackable statements, Hailey's team could have handled it. They have lawyers, they have press relationships, they have experience managing direct confrontation. Direct attacks give you something to respond to. Direct attacks give your PR machine a target. But what Selena said is not a direct attack. What Selena said is not attackable. What Selena said is 5 words of warm, gracious, apparently affectionate observation about an ex-boyfriend's concert. Words that any journalist printing a story about them would have to frame as supportive. Words that Hailey's team cannot respond to without looking like the aggressor. Words that cannot be contradicted without Hailey's camp raising a question that nobody in that camp wants raised. What exactly are you denying when you dispute that Justin Bieber looked like his old self at Coachella? What does it mean to push back against the observation that a man seemed fully present and alive for the first time in years? What does it say about the current state of Justin Bieber's marriage and mental state if his wife's team needs to issue a counter-narrative to the claim that he seemed happy on stage? This is why the damage control is a spiral and not a response, because there is no clean response. There is only the spiral of trying to control the conversation that Selena's 5 words opened. A conversation that, once opened, keeps leading back to the same question that the official narrative of this marriage has spent 7 years trying to prevent anyone from asking seriously. What has Justin Bieber actually been like behind closed doors during the years of this marriage? What does it mean that the version of him that most clearly resembles the version that people fell in love with, the present, alive, genuinely connected version, appeared on a Coachella stage after the departure of Scooter Braun, after the dissolution of Hillsong's institutional power, after the arrest of Diddy, after what multiple sources describe as the most intense period of behind-the-scenes tension in the Bieber marriage? What does it mean that the first person to publicly name what she saw on that stage was the woman who allegedly knows more about what was taken from Justin Bieber than almost anyone alive? To answer those questions properly, we have to go all the way back to where this story begins. Not the tabloid beginning, the real beginning. It is 2018, and Justin Bieber is publicly, visibly documented falling apart. He is photographed crying outside church services. He is seen in public grief that he cannot contain or control. And the source of that grief is the end of his relationship with Selena Gomez, a relationship that had survived, in its fractured, intermittent way, for nearly a decade. They had made one final attempt at reconciliation in early 2018. He had attended her family birthday events. He was trying. And then Selena's family, led by her mother Mandy Teefey, who had documented concerns about Justin's behavior and the people surrounding him, issued what sources describe as a final ultimatum. And the door closed. 3 months after that, at a Hillsong Church conference in Miami, an event attended by key figures from Justin's management circle, an event that sources is allegedly close to the management inner circle, describe as having been organized in part as an image rehabilitation environment. Justin Bieber and Hailey Baldwin were photographed together. And 4 weeks after that, Justin proposed in the Bahamas. And on September 13, 2018, they married at a New York City courthouse. Without a prenuptial agreement, a man with an estimated $300 million net worth married, without legal protection for that net worth. The official story says this was love. The official story says this was two young people swept up in a spontaneous, faith-driven romantic commitment. The official story was told on the Call Her Daddy podcast in October 2022, when Hailey Bieber sat down with Alexandra Cooper and said, with practiced calm, "It is not my character to mess with someone's relationship." The official story was beautiful and clean and required you to ignore the mathematics of the timeline entirely. But Selena Gomez did not ignore the mathematics of the timeline. She documented them in a song. "In 2 months, you replaced us," she sang on Lose You to Love Me, released in October 2019. Like it was easy. Made me think I deserved it. In the thick of healing. 2 months, not 6 months, not a year, 2 months. From his final break with Selena to his engagement with Hailey is a timeline that Selena, who was watching it happen in real time, described with the precision of someone who was not interpreting events from the outside. She was the event. And sources allegedly close to Selena's inner circle, people who have spoken anonymously to entertainment investigators over the years, describe the specific nature of what Selena knows about those 2 months. They describe conversations that allegedly took place between Selena and Justin during that window. Conversations in which, according to these accounts, Justin allegedly communicated to Selena something about the nature of the decisions being made around him. Something about the pressure he was under. Something about the meeting, or series of meetings, in which the people controlling his professional life presented him with a path forward, a path that did not look like the path he wanted to walk. He came crying to her about it before he signed his life away, a source allegedly close to Selena's current inner circle has claimed. She knows what was in that 2018 agreement. Her recent observations are not her being petty. She is watching a situation she has understood for years finally becoming visible to the world. And in the spring of 2026, at Coachella Weekend 2, something in that situation became visible to the world in a way that it never quite had before. Because for the first time in years, for the first time since approximately the period when Scooter Braun's influence began to visibly wane, when the financial dispute that would eventually result in a $31.5 million settlement was building, Justin Bieber stood on a stage and was present in his own performance the way he used to be, not performing presence, actually present. And Selena Gomez saw it, and she said what she saw, and 5 words became the most analyzed sentence in entertainment media on May 12, 2026. Now we need to talk about what the damage control actually looks like, because Hailey's team did not sit still after Selena's Instagram Live circulated. They could not. The optics were already moving in a direction that required a response, even if no clean response existed. The first move, which happened within hours of Selena's words going viral, was the seeding of the contextual reframe. Entertainment publications with established relationships to Hailey's team began publishing pieces emphasizing the same set of facts, that Hailey herself had reportedly pulled Billie Eilish onto the stage, that the moment was not spontaneous in the way the internet was reading it, that it was Hailey who had initiated it, that Billie Eilish is a lifelong Justin Bieber fan who cried at a 2019 concert, and that the emotional quality of the moment on stage was simply a genuine fan's genuine reaction to being invited to participate in a legendary artist's performance. This is the narrative that the contextual reframe was pushing. Hailey made the moment happen. Hailey invited Billie. Therefore, the moment, which looks like authentic connection between Justin and a woman who is not his wife, is actually evidence of Hailey's generosity and confidence and the security of the marriage. It is as damage control goes, not without tactical logic. If Hailey dragged Billie onto that stage, if Hailey initiated the contact, then the image of Justin turning to Billie and singing to her with locked-in eyes becomes a gift from a confident wife rather than a crack in a constructed facade. It reframes the story from Justin connected with someone real while performing to Hailey is so secure in her marriage that she personally invited the emotional moment to happen. The problem with this reframe, and the reason it has not quieted the conversation, is that it does not address what Selena said. It does not address the old Justin. It does not address the specific quality of presence and aliveness that Selena named publicly, calmly, without drama, on a live stream in front of her fan base. It does not address the implied comparison between the Justin who has been visible to the world throughout the alleged management arrangement and the Justin who appeared at Coachella Weekend 2 with his full self showing for the first time in years. Because the Hailey reframe can explain the Billie Eilish stage moment. What the Hailey reframe cannot explain is why the Justin of Coachella Weekend 2 looked different from the Justin of the past several years, why he moved differently, why he was present in a way that observers across the entire celebrity journalism ecosystem, not just Jelena fans, not just people predisposed to the conspiracy narrative, but neutral entertainment observers, described as a noticeable shift. A return, a man coming back from somewhere that he had been for a long time and that nobody had a clean word for. Selena gave it a word. She called it the old Justin. And that word, that description, has proven impossible for Hailey's team to neutralize. The second move in the damage control operation was the public visibility push. Within days of Selena's Instagram Live going viral, sightings of Justin and Hailey together increased in frequency and press coverage. Sources close to the couple gave comments to friendly entertainment outlets, emphasizing the strength of the marriage, the reality of their connection, the thriving nature of their co-parenting of Jack Blues. This is the playbook. When the narrative is under pressure, you perform the narrative with more intensity. You fill the visual space with images of the couple that contradict the emerging alternative story. You give the press something to cover that looks like evidence for the official version. The problem with this move, as anyone who has been following this story long enough will recognize, is that this is the same playbook that has been deployed every time the narrative has come under pressure before. The same increased visibility push happened during the eyebrow gate crisis of early 2023. The same sources close to the couple, comments about the strength of the marriage, appeared in early 2024, during the period when Stephen Baldwin's prayer request for the marriage had raised uncomfortable public questions. The same pattern of intensified couple content appeared in June 2025 when Hailey was photographed without her ring, and entertainment sources were telling reporters that things are not good. And each time the playbook has been deployed, it has worked temporarily. It has quieted the specific conversation. It has given the press the content it needs to pivot to a different story. But it has not addressed the underlying structural question that keeps reasserting itself. The question that Selena's 5 words on Instagram Live forced back into the center of the conversation with the precision of someone who knows exactly what she is doing and exactly how much time she has to do it. What happened to Justin Bieber? When did he become the man who sits at a laptop at Coachella and looks like a person who has lost something he cannot name? And what does it mean that the specific thing that made him look like himself again at Coachella 2026 was not a moment organized by his management team or staged by his wife's PR apparatus or produced by the institutional infrastructure of the Bieber brand machine? What does it mean that the thing that made him look real was a spontaneous stage moment with a woman who was brought there, allegedly, by Hailey herself, only to produce an image that tells the opposite story from the one Hailey's team needs the world to believe. That is the knot that no amount of damage control can untie cleanly. And Selena Gomez, by saying 5 words on Instagram Live, with a small smile and a camera trained on her face, pulled the knot tighter. Now let us discuss the deeper architecture that makes Selena's words in May 2026 so specifically dangerous for Hailey's position. Because to understand why I saw the old Justin again is not a casual observation, but a precision instrument, you have to understand what Selena allegedly knows and why she is allegedly permitted to say it now in ways she was not permitted to say it 5 years ago. Industry standard non-disclosure agreements in celebrity separations, particularly separations that involve management-adjacent legal arrangements of the kind that allegedly surrounded the 2018 Jelena to Jaylee transition, typically contain statute of limitations clauses under which the obligations of silence have defined expiration windows. 5 years is a common term in entertainment industry NDA architecture, and 5 years from the late 2018 period in which Selena's team allegedly signed agreements governing what could and could not be discussed publicly about the circumstances of the transition places us in the window of late 2023 going into 2024 and beyond. This is not coincidental. The timing of Selena's behavior, the late 2023 liked then unliked TikToks laying out the Justin is trapped theory, the absence of any direct statement, but the presence of increasingly pointed indirect commentary, the calm precision with which she has been dropping observations that land like receipts without technically being receipts, follows the logic of someone whose legal obligations are expiring, someone who has been marking the calendar, someone who understands that the silence that was legally required of her in 2018 has a shelf life, and that she is now in the period where that shelf life has run out. She's watching a hostage situation play out in real time, a source allegedly close to Selena's inner circle has said. And now she is legally allowed to acknowledge that she can see it. And what does she see? She sees what the Coachella Weekend 2 performance showed the entire world. She sees a man who is in the post-Scooter Braun, post-Hillsong, post-peak management control era of his life, beginning to look like himself, beginning to move through the world with something approaching the quality of presence and aliveness that she knew when they were teenagers, and falling in love before the machine found him, and reoriented every major decision in his life toward asset protection and brand management and legal insulation. She sees the old Justin again, and she said so. Now we need to address the Billie Eilish dimension of this story directly, because the internet has been doing what it does, constructing the most dramatic possible interpretation of the Coachella moment, painting the serenade as evidence of a romantic connection between Justin and Billie that is somehow secret and explosive. And we need to be careful here, because the reality of what the Coachella moment was is actually more interesting and more meaningful than the romantic speculation. Billie Eilish is, as documented and as Selena herself noted in her Instagram Live comments, a lifelong Justin Bieber fan. She first met him in 2019 at Coachella during an Ariana Grande performance and was photographed with tears streaming down her face. She wrote publicly about not being able to stop crying. This is a woman for whom Justin Bieber represents something real and formative about what music meant to her when she was becoming herself. When she was pulled onto that stage by Hailey and stood there with tears in her eyes while Justin sang One Less Lonely Girl to her. What you were watching was not a romantic entanglement. You were watching authentic emotion. You were watching a genuine human response to a genuine human moment. And that is exactly what made it devastating for the official narrative of the Bieber marriage. Because the Bieber marriage official narrative depends on Justin Bieber being most fully himself when he is in the context of that marriage. The entire construction of the post-2018 story requires that the love story be the thing that grounds him, that Hailey's presence is what makes him present, that the marriage is the source of the stability and aliveness that the world wants to see in Justin Bieber. If that is the story, then the most alive, most present, most genuinely connected moment of Justin's public performance career in years should have happened during a moment that involved Hailey. It should have been the sight of his wife that produced that quality of openness on his face. Instead, it was Billie Eilish, a woman who cried at a concert in 2019 because she loved his music, a woman who brought no management infrastructure, no alleged contractual arrangement, no 5-year milestone clauses to the stage with her. Just a lifelong fan's real emotions and the specific electricity that happens when that emotion meets the artist on the other side of it. And Selena Gomez, watching from wherever she was watching, saw what that meant, saw what it revealed, and said the only 5 words that mattered. I saw the old Justin again. Those words are now inside the public conversation about this marriage in a way that cannot be removed. They have been clipped and shared and quoted and analyzed on every entertainment platform that exists. They have generated the specific kind of attention that no press release can redirect because they are not attacking anything. They are not accusatory. They are not dramatic. They are simply observational. And the observation they contain is the most dangerous kind, the kind that once you have heard it, you cannot unhear. Because now every person who watches a video of Justin Bieber from the years between 2018 and 2026 is watching it through the lens of those 5 words. And the question that those 5 words produce, if this is the old Justin at Coachella 2026, who was the Justin we were watching for the 7 years before that, that question does not go away. That question is what Hailey's team is trying to manage right now, on May 12, 2026, without a clean answer. And the third and most significant move in the damage control operation is the most revealing one, the silence. Hailey Bieber has not addressed Selena's Instagram Live words directly. She has not responded. She has not quoted them. She has not dismissed them. She has not made a statement that engages with the substance of what Selena said. And her team has not produced a response that takes on the specific phrase, the old Justin. The silence around that phrase is the loudest thing in this story right now, because Hailey's team, whatever else you can say about them, are not stupid. They know that responding to the old Justin requires answering an implicit question about who Justin was during the period of the marriage. And that answer, whatever form it takes, produces a story that is worse than the silence. If they say Justin has always been himself, always been present, always been the person we see at Coachella weekend too, they have to explain why he looked the way he looked for years, why sources were describing him as completely consumed and shut down, why he was photographed at lunches in 2025 and 2026 looking like a man who was somewhere else while his body was in the room. Why the people who covered his public appearances for years were describing something that the clinical lens of celebrity journalism euphemizes as health struggles and personal battles, and the blunter language of anyone watching honestly describes as a man who was somewhere deep and dark and unreachable. If they say he is doing better now, they confirm the implicit timeline of Selena's observation. They confirm that there was a period when he was not the old Justin. And confirming that period exists is confirming everything that Selena's 5 words implied. This is the corner that damage control has walked into. And there is no clean exit from it, only the management of the conversation. The extension of the silence until the next story pushes this one down the feed. The hope that the news cycle moves fast enough that by the time anyone circles back, the public attention has dispersed. But here is the thing about Selena Gomez's 5 words that makes them different from every previous moment in this long, complicated, endlessly recycled cultural story. They did not come from a place of desperation. They did not come from a place of pain. They came from a woman who is settled, who is happy in her own life, who married Benny Blanco, and by every account is in a relationship that was built on the foundation of actual choice. They came from a woman who has been patient, who has been strategic, who has, allegedly, been watching a clock and waiting for the moment when what she knows and what she can say align without legal consequences. And they came in a tone, calm, warm, almost gentle, that made them impossible to dismiss as bitterness, impossible to frame as the behavior of someone who cannot let go. What Selena said sounded like someone who has let go completely, who is so settled in her own reality that she can watch Justin Bieber's Coachella performance and simply, honestly, with a small smile, describe what she saw in it. The grief is gone from her voice. The wound is healed. And the woman who remains after the healing is someone who sees very clearly. Someone who has the perspective of distance and time and her own happiness to look at this situation without the distortion of pain. And what she sees clearly and what she said clearly in 5 words on Instagram Live is that the man she knew and loved before the machine got him is still in there, still alive, still capable of the presence and connection and aliveness that the machine was allegedly designed to manage and contain and control. He is still there, the old Justin. Inside the architecture of the arrangement, inside the managed narrative, inside the Hailey marriage, and the Jack Blues parenthood, and the Roadskin empire, and the postnuptial clauses, and whatever remains of the infrastructure that was allegedly built around him in 72 hours of crisis management in 2018. He is still there. And at Coachella Weekend 2, April 2026, he showed himself, not to Hailey, not to his management, to a stage full of 50,000 people and a tearful, lifelong fan and a camera that was streaming to the entire world. And Selena Gomez saw him and said so. On May 12, 2026, Hailey Bieber's team is still in damage control, still drafting and discarding responses, still trying to find the angle that neutralizes the conversation that 5 words opened, still trying to manage a story that was built on sand 7 years ago and has been maintained at enormous cost by people who are no longer in the room. The architect is gone, paid $31.5 million to leave. The church is in ruins. The man whose shadow allegedly made the arrangement necessary in the first place is in federal custody with a trial that will add his name to depositions for years. And Selena Gomez is sitting somewhere in her actual life, genuinely happy, watching it all with the calm of someone who always knew this moment was coming, who has been marking the calendar, who said 5 words on Instagram Live not because she is angry or wounded or obsessed, but because she is free. Completely, genuinely, her own life free. And the women who are free are the ones who can afford to tell the truth in 5 words. Because Selena Gomez did not lose Justin Bieber. She saw the machine that was built around him. She saw the arrangement they wanted her to be part of. She saw the strings, and she walked away. And she has been watching from a safe distance for 7 years while the arrangement ran its course, while the infrastructure eroded, while the man she knew slowly found his way back to the surface. And when he got there, when he stood on a Coachella stage in April 2026 and looked alive in a way he had not been publicly documented, looking alive in years, Selena Gomez told her Instagram audience what she saw in it, with a small smile and a steady voice and 5 words that the entire damage control apparatus of the Bieber brand machine cannot neutralize. From the moment in 2018 when a broken young man was allegedly told he had no choice, the old Justin has been waiting. On May 12, 2026, the world knows he is still in there. And the empire built on the story that replaced him has never been more structurally exposed. The damage control is running. The silence is speaking. And the tide, the one that has been coming in for 7 years, has reached the walls.